Appreciate you coming out today. We're here today to talk about regulatory overreach and accountability in state government. I'm excited to talk about a new initiative to bring integrity back to state government. Unfortunately, and all of this is to improve our economy and create more high-wage jobs so our kids can stay. The unfortunate reality today is that we're 50th in the country in wages for young people, and too many of our kids have to leave. We've also got Colstrip 1 and 2 slated to be shut down, and although regulatory overreach has an impact on that, on Colstrip, it's also impacted small businesses. I've heard over and over again that small business owners all over the state are dying a death of 1,000 cuts, and they're suffering from state agencies that have adopted a culture of enforcement rather than customer service. We have good state workers, but they're not led well today, and we need to change that. So this is also about a lack of accountability and integrity in state government. We've seen 125 accounting errors, $1 billion disappear from our state balance sheet, rigged contracts given to friends and family, and now we find out the state is actually accused of using hush money to cover up whistleblowers. And we've seen public records destroyed by this current governor when he was Attorney General. Ronald Reagan said the purpose of government is to serve the people, not the other way around. So here's what I'm proposing. We need to get state government working for the people again. Regulations are strangling businesses and individuals. And as I said, many agencies have adopted a culture of enforcement rather than customer service. And we've had a lack of integrity in our leadership, and that is compromising our public trust. We have great state workers, but they're not led well today. Montanans must be able to trust the state government, and that's why I'm announcing and here to talk about one of my first actions when I'm elected governor will be a new Office of Government Accountability. This will be staffed by 2 existing headcount within the governor's office, so it will not increase the cost to the taxpayers. It will include a director and a deputy director. And the purpose of this new office will be fourfold. First, we will adopt customer service best practices for each state agency. Secondly, we will start to peel back the excessive regulations to make it easier for small businesses to prosper in the state that these regulations currently inhibit job growth. Third, we'll bring integrity back to state contracting, and we'll improve accountability so that we actually retain our public records and not have them destroyed. Not clear what we're hiding there. Some of the specifics: one of the first actions will be a moratorium on all new regulations by state agencies unless they're required for federal compliance or to increase efficiencies. And this office will work to gain input from state workers and the public on excessive regulations that are inhibiting job growth. This will build on the work that we started earlier this year in the regulation roundup. And if people do have regulations that are getting in the way, I would encourage them to go out to regulationroundup.com and submit their favorite excessive regulation, and we'll work to eliminate those that we don't need. We'll also establish customer service metrics for each state agency. This will include things like time to response and time to get a permit approved. And then we'll measure these monthly and publish them on a public website so we can start to measure. It'll also give us the opportunity to recognize state workers that are doing a great job and departments that are doing a great job, so we can recognize them and reward them for their good service to the people. We'll also review our contracting procedures. We've seen contracts recently given to friends and family. Most recently, this tourism contract, $70 million, sent to a firm in Wisconsin that had no tourism marketing experience, but they did have the cousin of an administration staffer. This needs to change. Nepotism has no place in state contracting. In private business, if someone had a family relationship, they need to recuse themselves in the selection process. That should happen in state contracting as well. I've also said before, one of my first actions will be selling the state airplane. We'll use the proceeds from that. It'll be about $2 million in the first biennium to put computer science in all the high schools in the state. This will create brighter futures. I'll still need a plane to get around the state, but I can use commercial services or use other state aircraft. And then finally, we've got to ensure that we have open and transparent government. And yet, this current administration can't find any of the emails from when they were Attorney General. They've been destroyed. We don't know what this administration is hiding. We need it. Backing up emails is not that hard, and the state guidelines are very clear. It's the state employee's responsibility to retain these records, and yet that was not done by Steve Bullock when he was our Attorney General. Again, it's not clear what he's hiding. So, specifically here in Helena, we need this Office of Government Accountability to get rid of these no-bid contracts and special deals for friends and family. We have great state workers, but they need to be treated respectfully. We saw just this past week a story broken by the Bozeman Chronicle. 42 state employees were paid hush money to cover up deeds that we're not sure what they are. This is wrong. We've also seen that the governor may well have violated the open records law by deleting or destroying all of his emails while he was Attorney General. Again, it's not clear what he's hiding. So in conclusion, I want to thank you for being here today. I look forward to being your next governor and bringing integrity back to state government. And as Ronald Reagan said, get government working for the people again instead of the other way around. So thank you for being here. I'd be happy to take a few questions. The allegation in the Bozeman Chronicle from individuals that were spoken with, I'm referencing that particular article in the Bozeman Chronicle, referred to alleged discrimination that occurred, and in fact whistleblowers were paid money, in part, one individual in that article said, to cover up misdeeds.
That's it?
I'm referencing the Bozeman Chronicle article, yes.
What about the governor's office was saying that they already have a citizen's advocate? Do you see what you're calling a kind of repetition of that service?
Well, it's interesting. When you look at the details on that, Phil, they've actually zeroed out the budget for that, so it's not actually funded right
now. Now, is yours going to be something that would be in addition to state government, or are you using existing resources?
What I'm saying is, when I'm governor, one of my first priorities will be staffing these two positions out of existing headcount within the governor's budget. So it'll be a priority for me, and they'll get filled first. It should not incur any increased expense.
Well, the governor's office has said that, the deleting of the emails, they followed proper procedures and they didn't do anything unusual, and it was like sort of how the truth of that. What do you say to that?
Well, I think if you read the state guidelines for public officials, it requires that records be retained. And it's the responsibility of the state employee to do that. If in fact there was nothing of merit that the Attorney General did his entire 4 years, he may be correct. I think there was actually some correspondence that may have needed to be recorded. And if he needs a thumb drive, I'll loan him one. But we'd like to know what happened.
Greg, I think you've also talked about the contract that was given for the Galen contract, the $20 million Galen contract was given to a company with an employee who doesn't budget up his wife. I wonder, something wrong with that process, and if you were governor, how would it be different?
Yeah, and this is, Mike, this is a standard procedure in business. If you have a parent conflict where there's a family relationship of some sort, it is necessary for that individual to recuse themselves in the process. And that's all I'm asking, is that they should step aside and not be involved in the decision.
But it would, I believe that was a no bid contract. Are you saying that should have been a bid contract or handled any differently than it was?
$23 million contract going to the firm who employs the wife of the budget director raises suspicions. And I think that whenever there's a potential for conflict, it's incumbent on government to make sure those conflicts are resolved before contracts are awarded. And it wasn't clear that it was done in that particular case, or in the case of the tourism contract.
Have you looked into what million-dollar contracts may be coming up in January that might be affected by a 90-day moratorium, and how would you deal with the potential disruption to the business?
Yeah, so Matt, we've seen under this current administration $800 million of expansion and spending in just 3 years. At the same time, we haven't been able to get infrastructure funding. We've seen state revenues falling off a cliff. Now, the $455 million surplus we had just a year ago is down to $109 million. A little slowdown in state spending would be a good thing. So I don't know exactly what contracts are up, but I know the money's going out the door too fast. And it's a constitutional requirement for the governor to balance the budget. We need to make sure that we get these new contracting practices in place.
And as a point of clarification on the regulations, would the new regulations, that moratorium be subject to a 90-day hiatus, or is that an indefinite?
What I'm saying is no new rules for the first 90 days while we get this office established. We can do the review. If there are rules that are required by statute or to comply with federal rules, or they increase the efficiency of government, we will let them come to pass. But this is modeled after some programs that have initiated in other states that have shown very good results, and we'll do the same thing here in Montana.
Can you think of an instance outside of those exceptions that you listed, which were law, courts, statutory requirements, where a state agency would be making regulations or not?
Well, yes, we get new rules out of state agencies all the time, and this is one of the things I've heard. I've now driven, today I'll pass 60,000 miles driven in this campaign, and I've done town hall meetings in every corner of the state. And every small business, doesn't matter if it's a contractor or a plumber or even a superintendent of public schools or an administrator of a hospital, they tell me the same thing over and over again. They're covered up in rules and regulations, and the burden just keeps getting heavier. First thing you got to do when you're in a hole is stop digging. So we're going to put a moratorium in place and then work to peel back the other ones that have given all the paper cuts and caused people to bleed to death. So thank you very much for coming out. We're happy to visit a little more, and appreciate you being here.